Be welcome to Lima, Peru once again to another edition of the Untold History of Peru. Today, March the 6th, 2024. And today we're going to talk about one of the chapters of Peru's history, which is fundamental to understand the conquest of this territory, the conquest of Peru, the invasion of this territory by the conquistadors from Europe, from Spain. We will talk about the first civil war of Peru. So the war between Atahualpa and Huascar. In today's occasion, we will talk about the relation between Atahualpa and Huascar. Who were they? Who was supposed to rule this territory? So this is really one of the most important questions that we will be addressing today and also trying to answer during the whole event. So before I begin, let me say hi to you. Hola, hola, my name is Vanessa Vasquez. I am your Lima City tour guide. I am an official tour guide based in Lima, Peru. I do tours of my city related with history, culture. I do also food tours. I love bird watching, so that's another thing I do. So basically, my city, my home, is also this wonderful place where you can enjoy all kinds of activities, but also my interest in particular is history, is untold history. So most of my in-person tours are related with this. And this YouTube channel is also to connect with new friends from all over the world, to be in touch with friends that have been my clients in Lima also. And if you would like to come to Lima and have a tour with me, just let me know it. You have all my contacts in the description of this video. I have also lots of friends that I made during the world pandemic that are also, well, very, very close friends of mine and that come to all my events in person. So let me say hi also to a couple of friends that are joining. Hola, Catherine, thanks for joining, amiga. Thank you, thank you. So I really hope one day also we'll be able to give a big hug to my virtual friends from the time in which I used to be doing only virtual tours. So today's tour will be about history again. By the way, let me tell you that I do events once a week. For now, I'm trying to do them once a week. I do two tours per month about history and 2 cooking classes per month. Peruvian cooking classes, of course. Peruvian food is what we show in my kitchen. So, well, if you're ready, I am ready to begin this event. So remember that, well, the reason why I do these events live is because I want you to have the chance of interacting with me, asking me questions. And if you are connecting to this video already uploaded and you were not able to make it live, you can also leave your questions in the comment section. So I will be checking those questions later and of course addressing them, answering them. So well, let's begin with this event and let's talk about this very dark moment in the history of Peru. Probably I think it's fundamental for anyone that wants to understand Peruvian history, to understand this moment of Peru's history. So how come just a little bench, a few, like let's say Spanish, about 160 Spanish were able to dominate, to control, and to destroy an empire that, well, we don't know exactly how many people live in the Inca Empire, but it's speculated between 3 million to 10 million people that lived in the Tahuantinsuyo. So how was that possible? Well, they came in the right time. They came in the perfect moment to do so. So, well, to understand also the fight between Atahualpa, and Huascar, it is necessary to understand also in which situation the Inca Empire was when these fights started. So how big the empire was. Basically, the expansion of the Inca Empire took off since Pachacutec Inca. So in total, we consider we had 14 Incas. Consider them, of course, Huascar and Atahualpa as the last two. So the history of the Inca Empire is really not so long in terms of empire. No? The time in which the empire started to expand like vastly and fast was around the year 1470. So Pachacutec, Tupac Yupanqui, and Huayna Capac, ancestors of these two Incas that ended up fighting, these brothers that ended up fighting, were the ones who expanded this empire. Huayna Capac, father of Atahualpa and Huascar, also had lots of children, and that was the tradition in these ancient times, that the Incas will have lots of offsprings, and they had lots of wives also. So as you can see also below, the first two children of Huayna Capac were Ninankuyuchi and Huascar, right? So please keep in mind that the name Ninankuyuchi is not very famous. This Inca, this character, this personality of her history is not very well known. And that is because later you're going to see he died prematurely, because as he was the firstborn, he was supposed to be the one who would rule instead of Huascar or Atahualpa, right? So the firstborn was Ninankuyuchi and the secondborn was Huascar, right? And this we know thanks to chronicles from the colonial period. During the first years after the arrival of the Conquistadors started to become very interested in the history of these peoples, and that's why they started to create some documents. Also, we have many cases of Spaniards who marry Incan princesses who were from the nobility and were even related to the Incas by bloodline. So they were the ones who received the information that also later historians have used to understand this part of the history. Also, in the year 1493, Huayna Capac, let's say, it's born, and he is the one that also later expands also this territory. So something very important about Huayna Capac, here is 1943 is the year he becomes leader. So you can see here 1464 is the year he's born. And this is the time in the history of the Incan Empire that, the expansion is the biggest. This is the period in which, thanks to Huayna Capac, the territories of the north of the country are, the north of the Tahuantinsuyo are included, and those were territories that were ruled by very wild, savage people, people who were warriors also, that were not interested in being part of the Incan Empire, right? So that territory of the north that was later introduced into the Incan Empire nowadays corresponds to Ecuador, right? In particular, Quito, the capital of Ecuador. So Huayna Capac was very proud of being the one who was able to annex that territory into his land. And he really spends a lot of time in the north. Like, we're talking about approximately, let's say, 30 years of his life in the north of the country. He was not able to return to Cusco after because, well, he basically died in the north. And he had, of course, a big respect for the traditions and for the culture of the Incas. And for example, one of those traditions was that, of course, the firstborn child will be the leader, the one that will receive the power. This is so far we know, because a lot of the things that well, were related with the Incan system, we don't understand very well. No? But according to the chronicles, this is the way how things were. And this firstborn child of Huayna Cápac was in Cusco, in a very, very distant zone from the north of the country. Right? So let's think about Huayna Cápac and his affections towards that firstborn child that was far away from him, right? And these children he had in Cusco, and also his new life in the north of the country. Once he went to the north of the country, he fell in love of that territory, and he never returned to Cusco. He had a secondary wife also there, and he had also children there in the north, right? This is a very important moment for the history of Peru, because the affections Huayna Cápac had for the north of the country define the later events of the history of Peru, right? So, well, here you can see the expansion of this territory, how big the territory of the Incas was, and you can see also the quadripartition of this territory. The Incan territory was divided in 4 parts. That's why the name of this territory was Tahuantinsuyo. Tawa means 4 in Quechua. Suyos were or referred to territories. Could be the one of the north, 2 in the central zones, east and west, and 1 in the south. In the center of this territory, which will be this part over here, is where Cusco City was located. So many people compare Cusco with Rome. Cusco was the Rome of the Americas. Why? Because all of the different people that you could see in that capital, people from all of the Suyus, from all of these territories, from the north, from the south, from the jungle, from the coast, were coming to Cusco to learn, to worship, to trade. And well, what is very curious is that at the end of the history of the expansion of the Inca Empire, this territory was way too big to be handled. Way too big, way too extended. No? We don't know really how long the Inca Empire would be able to still exist as a unity. How long, I mean, refer to, if the Incas were not conquered by the Spanish in the moment they were conquered. Maybe this was just a matter of time for the empire to collapse, and that you will see in a moment also. So during the time of Huayna Cápac, Cusco was a city without a king, as you know already, because Huayna Cápac was in the north. So where is the north in this map? Well, this territory, Quito, right? Nowadays, Ecuador, right? Of course that Cusco was not without any governor. No? There were governors there. There were also people who had the power given by the king. The family of the king was the panaca of the king of the Inca, was the one that was ruling. And of course, he had advisors there, he had relatives there, but the Inca was not physically there. I wanted also to do a little comparison in terms of basically the space that the Inca Empire occupied, and what will happen if we move, for example, this image here over Europe. So how big this territory would be. it would be huge. The Inca Empire was as big as the empire of Alexander the Great. So all of the territory that was connected by the Inca Empire will connect also most of Europe, probably 70% of the European surface, right? So you can also see here the progression of the growth of the Inca Empire according to the Incas. You can see also that there were periods of expansion. First of all, around Cusco. Cusco city would be, once again, in this location over here. So that's the beginning. You can see how small the Inca let's say expansion was initially, the territory of the Incas. So we refer to Incas to the period about the 1200. And then we can see also the explosion of the empire with Pachacutec. We have also later a much larger expansion with Tupac Inca or Tupac Yupanqui. And then we have the Huayna CÁPAC expansion in the north. So once again, the north is the territory that made very proud that Inca. So I wanted you to have a very clear understanding of how important was the role of Huayna CÁPAC in the fight between the brothers Atahualpa and Huascar. So what we are understanding first is that Huayna CÁPAC, the Inca king, moved to the north of Peru, out of Cusco, out of the capital, right, and decided to live in Quito. And there he formed, of course, another family with a secondary wife. That was not unusual. The Incas had a lot of wives also. But we have to see the human side of the Inca. No? He formed a family. He had a very close relations with his children that he was able to see and raise in the north. And Cusco was a very distant land to him. So this is how Cusco probably looked like in the time when Huayna CÁPAC lived, a city that was, according to the Spanish, all covered in gold. The Spanish were amazed about the golden walls. Hola Marilu, thanks for joining. No worries, dear friend, no worries. Here you can see also a very interesting thing, the shape of the probable shape of the puma that was given to the city. So the city was, once again, the Rome of the Americas. So in this city, the heirs of Huayna CÁPAC were raised in Cusco. Why in Cusco? Of course, in Cusco was all the education. In Cusco were the best teachers. In Cusco was the family, the panaca. Panaca is a word we use to refer to family in Quechua, but also when we think, for example, in more Western cultures, Westernized cultures, when we think in family, we usually think in a family that is sort of like patriarchal in a way, right? The father is is the head of the family. Most of cultures around the world are like that. Well, in the pre-Hispanic times, in the time of the Incas, the panacas were basically the family of someone, but they were matriarchal. So the family but was connected with the mother side, right? That was your family. Your family was, or your panaca was, the family from your mother's side. So it's very interesting too. So we have here Ninan Cuyuchi, who, according to some chronicles, was the person who was the heir. Right? The second born was Huascar. So the mother was, of course, the first wife of the Inca. That was also according to the tradition that the first wife will be the one that will produce the heir, right? And we have here also Huascar. No? So, well, something very important happened, of course, for Huascar, becoming also the possible heir. No? And that was the death of Ninankuyuchi. We will also talk about this in a moment. But that's the reason why we don't have this certainty yet about who was supposed to really rule the territory, why these brothers were fighting, Huascar and Atahualpa. Well, neither one or the other were, in theory, originally supposed to be the kings, the rulers. So Huayna Capac, the father of Atahualpa and Huascar, had also many wives, you know this already. Being married to just one person was for the common people, right? And during the Inca times, for example, the common people couldn't have many women at the same time, or many men. If you were a woman, you couldn't be with 2, 3 men. That was punished terribly by the Incas. But that was for the common people. For the nobility, having 5 and more wives, I hear that the Inca could have 100 women that were married to him, and of course produce lots of children. The Inca must have had a lot of children, maybe over 100 children, who would know. And they were, of course, all proud children of the Inca, but only the first wife will produce the heirs, right? So when the Incas started to use this system to, to have a lot of wives, they started to implement that system when they started to expand the territory. So in that way, the Inca ruler, the Inca king, will be able to sort of like annex territories in a friendly way. So in that way, for example, he would form good relations with local chief or leaders of tribes. So he would marry maybe the sister of that person, so a close person of that location, and in that way they will become family. That was a very common way in the old days, in the pre-Hispanic times, to have positive relations, fruitful relations. So Huayna Capac, when he was in the north of his territory, his new conquered territories, to create a long beneficial relation, he married a woman, a princess in the north. And he stayed with her for many years. It's been estimated that about 30 years of the life of Huayna Capac, he was in the north. And he also had children there. Atahualpa is it's believed his firstborn, his oldest child, with his new wife that he made in the north. Atahualpa was also from both sides, from the side of the father, a prince, and also from the side of the mother, who was the daughter of a very important leader of this kingdom of Quito. So the personalities of Atahualpa and Huascar were very, very different. Very, very different. And that's also marked by the way how they were raised. For example, Atahualpa was raised by warriors. Most of the warriors that worked side by side, that fought side by side for the father of Atahualpa, Huayna Cápac, during the expansion in the north of the country, later became mentors of Atahualpa. For example, the most important names of these generals are Rumiñahui, Quisquis, and Calcuchimac. Well, these names also, these characters are very important during the time of the conquest, because they fought against the Spanish, against the conquistadors, right? We know also that since very young, Atahualpa was taken to the war. So remember that he was not supposed to be an heir of any kinds of the Inca kingdom, right? So because of this situation, he was also able to go to war, to fight, no? Because of course he was important, but he was not the heir, no? So there was not so much care in his sort of like life. In a way, he could be exposed to war, to fights. The heir would not be, of course, exposed to be in the front line to fight. So this defined the temper of Atahualpa. This defined how warrior Atahualpa became later. He ate with the soldiers. He fought side by side with them. He was wounded also with them. So that also made him a very respectable person in front of the warriors that follow him, right? Huascar, on the other hand, remember he was raised in Cusco. He was raised in an environment in which women were the leaders. He was raised by his panaca, by his mother. And also, of course, he was raised side by side with all captains. But captains that were not in wars for many decades. Cusco was at peace for a long time. These people were basically elderlies, right? So he was not raised to be a warrior. He was more raised to understand, for example, art, architecture. So he was an artist. Huascar was an artist, a well-educated and refined man. So very different to his brother, Atahualpa. So, well, some few differences here between Huascar and Atahualpa. There were, of course, many more differences. Hola, Marilyn, no worries. Thanks for coming, amiga. Thank you, thank you. So, Atahualpa was the warrior, while Huascar was the artist. Atahualpa was assertive, strategic. Huascar was more traditional and conservative. We will say that their personalities were so opposed that, also the way how the destiny of the empire, like if one or the other would be the final winners, because at the end nobody won. Nobody won. Would be decisive, probably either to destroy the empire or maintain it and grow it. So at the end, you're going to decide which one was the one that would probably be making bigger the empire of the Incas, right? So I left there some information. Remember that after this event, this video will be uploaded to the channel, and you can also come back, revise, take maybe notes on the names of these characters, and do your own investigations. So the purpose of these events is, of course, becoming informative and entertaining as well. So there is a possibility that the family that he formed in Quito, that HUAYNA CÁPAC formed in Quito, after these so many years of living there, became very influential in now an already elderly HUAYNA CÁPAC. Huh? A man that was in his late 60s, probably in the time closer to his death. So, and that's because HUAYNA CÁPAC, who was a very traditional person, a very traditional man, who respected all the rules and the ways how things have been done by his ancestors, is the person that also creates the big mess that later becomes also these territories. How come? Well, you know that by tradition, the heir should be someone from Cusco, right? The child of the first wife of the Inca. But probably the wife, the Quiteño wife of HUAYNA CÁPAC, she was not very happy with this idea. She wanted maybe her own son, Atahualpa, be the ruler of that territory. She was a very proud woman. And let's say that she preferred that someone that knew the culture, that knew the tradition, her own son, would be the leader of that part. But that was impossible. That was not possible, because the leader had to be the Inca, the absolute leader. So maybe years and years and years of trying to convince her husband finally pay fruit. Because we know that later HUAYNA CÁPAC decides to break the protocol. And he decides that, yes, indeed, the Inca king will be his heir, the Inca king of all the territory, but that Quito, the territories that he annexed, will be returned their independency. And that Atahualpa will be the leader of that territory. What do you think about that? So incredible. So what a big, like a mess also created. So in Quito, 15 years of his life in that territory, many years before also out of Cusco and in fights and in campaigns, life was very good for HUAYNA CÁPAC. So much that, for example, we know that his last wish was, of course, to continue with the tradition that his mummy will be taken to Cusco to rest there, but his heart will stay in Quito. He asked that his heart will be taken apart from his body and will rest there in that land that he loved so much. So now we're going to the death of HUAYNA CÁPAC. Why he died? Well, it's not very clear the cause of his death, but there is a big probability that he was killed by a disease, an infection, a germ that was introduced by the conquistadors in the Americas. Because so far we know, when he was, at certain age, he decided to say bye to his family in Quito and go to Cusco to rest. He was feeling good. There's no evidence that he was sick. And well, he left Cusco. He was still, on the way. And some weeks after, he starts feeling sick. And there are evidences in the documents that tell the story of his disease, that he has some types of wounds, some types of, openings in his skin. Could be smallpox, could be measles, could be leprosy. We really don't know what happened. It could be even poison too. It could be, of course. Because, well, the Incas used to use a lot of poison to kill each other. That was one of the ways, also one of the preferred ways to kill an enemy, with poison. But also we know that his heir, Ninankuyuchi, also dies with him. So the person that was appointed to rule Ninankuyuchi died with Huayna Capac of the same disease, or it was the same cause that killed them both. So meaning that, well, unfortunately, we had a big chaos in this territory. So who will be now the leader, right? Of course that, well, the protocol, of course, was broken. All protocols were broken. The heart of Huayna Capac wanted to stay there in Quito, and the rest of the body was sent to rest in Cusco. This is the way how probably the mummy of the Incas looked like. They were all exposed. They were all exposed in Cusco. And we know that because the Spanish were able to see the Incas also. We have also documents that show us how these mummies were paraded in special occasions, during the solstices, for example, during important events, and people were able to see them. So, and you can see also on the left, recreation of how those mummies probably look like. The concept people have about death, this is a little parenthesis, is very different to what we think about death. Because of the Spanish influence and the Catholic religion, most Peruvians are Catholic and believe that there's a heaven, there's a hell if you misbehave. But in the pre-Hispanic times, things were very different. There were no heavens or hells in the same way. But the destruction of your soul will happen if your mummy was destroyed. There was a permanent loss, let's say, right? So it was very important to maintain the mummy, to take care of the mummy. The Incas did whatever was possible to do that. Even converting into the Catholic faith for not having their bodies burned and losing their mummies. So something interesting is that when Huayna Capac died, Huascar, of course in Cusco, he expected the mummy of his father, but also expected Atahualpa to come with the mummy. Atahualpa never showed that respect to Huascar, going to Cusco and kneeling to Huascar. So it is speculated that probably during his education process, Atahualpa, as the son of his father, traveled to Cusco in some occasion. But maybe he was in a way humiliated or treated really bad in Cusco, and he had a resentment. That's why he didn't want to return to Cusco. But of course, Huascar took this very, very personal. So in the period after the death of Huayna Capac, and also Huayna Capac asked the brothers, all of these brothers and all of the relatives, and especially, Atahualpa, who was in theory being given the territories of the north, to treat very well each other, to have a very good relation with each other. But this relation was not really so good. Although they were very friendly, We know from the chronicles that they even exchanged presents to each other and exchanged invitations to come. Huascar asked Atahualpa to come to Cusco, and Atahualpa asked Huascar to go to Quito. That never happened, because probably they were more afraid of each other, afraid of being killed by the other. There were many battles later that happened, and well, the reason of these, confrontations between Atahualpa and Huascar is because later Huascar understands that Atahualpa has no intention of accepting him as his king. He wants also to stick to the word of his father that he wanted to have an independent territory in the north, which is not the same territory of Ecuador, by the way, but is a part of the territory of Ecuador nowadays. So finally, Huascar decides to begin a fight with his brother Atahualpa, and Atahualpa was, of course, ready for that. So, well, as you know, Atahualpa was a warrior. Huascar was not a warrior. Huascar was more conservative. He loved to have fun, and he loved to have a lot of women, of course. He was a man that by no means was a person of war and battle. So for these wars, for these fights, he sends an uncle to represent him. Atahualpa, on the other hand, he goes. He's the one that fights. He's the one that leads. Initially, the fights are won by Huascar, and later, Atahualpa becomes the leader. In these fights also, we know that Atahualpa, because he was fighting, he was in the front line, he lost an ear, which was also a terrible thing, because the Incas show with pride their deformed earlobes. The ears deformed and stretching were a sign of status. So later, when Atahualpa finally wins, by the way, Atahualpa was a very good son, but a really bad brother, terrible brother, right? Because when he wins, he also knows that Huascar becomes prisoner also of his men. His people, by the orders of Atahualpa, go to Cusco City, take prisoners, everybody, all the family of Huascar. And we know that one of the most atrocious events of the history of Peru happens. Atahualpa orders that all the family of Huascar will be killed. All the wives, all the children. The legend says that even the babies in the wombs of their mothers were taken out and killed. So, and well, all happens in front of the eyes of Huascar. So here you can see a representation of Huascar trapped by the soldiers of Atahualpa. And of course, it happens the assassination of Huascar. So in which situation Huascar is killed? Was he killed by Atahualpa? No, he was not killed by Atahualpa himself, by the orders of Atahualpa, because he was being really taken to the presence of Atahualpa, but something happened in that moment between those fights. Atahualpa was not able to see his brother because in the meantime, Atahualpa is visited by the Conquistadors, by Francisco Pizarro in Cajamarca. So all of these events were happening almost like, distant, by remote control. The Incas were ordering things to happen. And Atahualpa, his curiosity was much bigger, of course. He wanted to meet these bearded, fair-skinned men that were coming in these big ships. They were riding these gigantic llamas, the horses. And he wanted to meet them in person. He had thousands of people with him at Atahualpa. But the event of the meeting in Cajamarca between the Spanish and the Inca was terrible, and also that deserves another event. I've been explaining also these events in previous videos also. You can give a look to the previous video I've uploaded about the conquest of Peru. So I invite you to go there later and see it. But basically Atahualpa didn't really worry about the Spanish. His worries were more about his brother. He believed these Spanish were nothing. There were just a few bunch of them. So his preoccupation was that his brother will not be freed, because it could happen, of course. He could, in a way, also find escape, right, from his captures. Because if he had his brother under his control, he was by default the absolute Inca. Right? He wanted to be not just the king of Quito. He now had ambitions for all the territory. So, well, the meeting with the Spanish and later also the offering of the ransom for his liberation, it was probably just to gain some time or just for his curiosity to understand more the Spanish. Because if he wanted to be freed, if we just said, one word, all of his people will immediately come and kill the Spanish. But he didn't. He didn't do that. By the way, Atahualpa offered his own sister to marry Pizarro, to become the wife of this conquistador that had him trapped. Why do you think he did that? So remember that in the pre-Hispanic times, marriage was a very important way to create good relations, nexus, right? So if the Inca was offered a woman that was of high status, of a place where he was like a campaigning, that meant that he would become family of this leader and that there would be a good relation between them. So Atahualpa offered his sister to Pizarro, but he didn't expect that later Pizarro ordered his killing. So, well, that really took him by surprise, probably, right? So here you can see Quispe Sisa on the left, Francisco Pizarro on the right. Quispe Sisa was the sister of Atahualpa, and in the center, Francisca Pizarro, known as the first mestiza of Peru. Talking about this ransom offered by Atahualpa to the Spanish, which was really, in my opinion, unnecessary. Really by one word of Atahualpa, all the Spanish would be annihilated. He didn't ask that. Of course that he was worried of the gunpowder, probably, or the explosions that were done by the arquebuses of the Spanish. But later on he understood them better. And probably he even made him friends of him, right? This is Spanish. We know even that some Spanish didn't want to kill Atahualpa. We know that they wanted him to stay alive. So Atahualpa offers for his liberation a lot of gold. It is believed that between 6 and 7 tons of gold were offered in the room that you see there, that room exists, by the way. It's in Cajamarca, in the north of the country. It's a very interesting touristic attraction. That is the place, Cajamarca, where the Spanish met Atahualpa and like kept him prisoner. And well, there you can see also the value estimated nowadays of that ransom, the reward offer for his liberation. 800, I'm sorry, 380 million euros. I'm crossing the numbers. So 412 million US dollars. Oh my God, that's a huge number, right? So well, the Spanish took the reward, but they didn't give freedom to Atahualpa. So if Atahualpa was not rescued, once again, well, probably people believed that Atahualpa, the common people, was, of course, a supernatural creature. He was the son of the sun, and he could transform in different, like creatures, animals. There was a legend that said that Atahualpa already escaped from another confinement he had by orders of his brother, in the form of a snake. Well, probably he really, somehow, like offers something to his captors, and that's how he escaped. But it was believed that Atahualpa could shift into different forms of animals and escape. So well, people probably believed that he would be able to escape. Hola, Luis. My pleasure, Luis. Thank you, thank you. You can also see it later when it goes uploaded. Hola, gracias. Thanks for joining. Thank you, thank you. I will be uploading also this video at the end of the event. Thank you so much for joining. And also, another thing very important is that probably Atahualpa didn't solicit it to be rescued. But he definitely didn't believe that the Spanish will finally decide his death. And what happened, with the killing of Atahualpa, was not actually the way how a king should be treated. Because according to the laws of that time, a king only could be, the decision of killing a king only could be done, well, according to that time, by a pope or a king or another king, not by common people. And all the people that were with Conquistador Pizarro, neither of them was nobility or was of that high hierarchy, to take the decision of killing the Inca. So it was arbitrary completely, but necessary for the Spanish, because they believed also that their lives were in risk if they were having Atahualpa like that. And they had the perfect excuses. They killed Atahualpa because, well, he ordered the killing of his own brother, Huascar, also for having multiple wives. And he couldn't be killed for being a pagan or worshiper of the sun, because he converted into the Catholic faith. But still he had to be killed. So because he was not pagan, he was not burned. And for Atahualpa, it was important to keep his mummy. So that's why he decided to convert into the Catholic religion. So for your enjoyment and relaxation, I would like to recommend you a movie. It's an oldie but goodie. Of course, it has lots of elements that are not exact and of course some artistic licenses, but it's a very interesting movie. It's from the year 1969, The Royal Hunt of the Sun. In the links that I will be putting also in the description of this event when it becomes a video uploaded in my channel, I will be adding also a link to the movie that is online, right? So if you wish to see it later, that would be super. Let me know if you like it. And well, I hope that you enjoy this event. This event was for entertaining purposes, and hope that you found it interesting. So these are going to be the links that you're going to find also in my video when it goes uploaded. These are the different sites that are consulted for creating this really like small summatory of that event, and also the movie at the end. And also I want to invite you to my next events. We are going to be cooking next week. Chupe de camarones is a Peruvian traditional recipe from Arequipa. It's shrimps chowder. It's going to be very tasty. And in 2 weeks, I will be talking about the tragic history of the first presidents of Peru. So we're going now to turn the page to the period of the Republican era, the beginning of the history of the Republic of Peru. And we're going to talk about these characters of our history. So I will say no more about, about them. But I hope to see you later in that event. What a pleasure to have you. Thank you, Luis. Gracias. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining. But what a big pleasure to have you, especially a friend from Ecuador. So, well, I'm so happy you were here today. Thank you so much. Gracias, Marilu. Thank you, dear. What a pleasure to have you always. And to all my friends who were here during the live event, also my appreciation. I know it's not always easy to join these events live, but later you can see, you can replay this event as many times as you wish. If there were some elements that were not incorrect or maybe not perfect or perfectly explained, my apologies. But I hope that this helped you also to understand a little bit better of the history of Peru. Well, muchas gracias. And let me flip the camera to the other side to say bye to you all. Thank you for joining. Always a pleasure. If you come to Lima, let me know it. I would love to have you here in the city. I would love to maybe take you to the historic center or to a museum, or even cook for you and show you my favorite restaurants also. See you next time. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you. See you, and best to you all. Have a lovely rest of the week. Take care. Ciao. Bye.